pushes around. Can he save it this time?
Oh, there you go.
He does. He saves it. But there's a
Jeff Gordon's upside down. Jeff Gordon's upside down.
And Kurt Busch's car is destroyed.
Oh my gosh.
The 2012 Daytona 500 was probably the most eventful Daytona 500 we've ever seen. Montoya hit the jet dryer, we had a cool red flag, and the tweet that essentially marked the beginning of the NASCAR Twitter community was posted. But what about before that Daytona 500? What about the speed weeks? Well, those were pretty eventful too, one of the biggest being the Budweiser Shootout, where Kyle Busch saved his car twice on the apron and came back to win the race. But it was one of these times that he saved it that Jeff Gordon, driving the number 24 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet, flipped over. But before we get there, NASCAR fans might have questions about this flip. How did the number 18 save his car from wrecking? How did the number 24 flip? How long did the 24 slide on his roof upside down? Well, today I'll be answering these questions by describing the crash in full detail. Alright, I've set the scene. 2012 Budweiser Shootout. We have 2 laps to go in the race, and the number 14 of Tony Stewart is leading. Back in second and third, Kyle Busch and Jeff Gordon, respectively, are bump drafting, attempting to get their way to the front. Bump drafting is when you hang off another car's back bumper and use that car's draft to pull themselves up. This speeds up both cars. The thing with bump drafting is that it's very risky to do in the corners of Daytona, especially in the Generation 5 carbs tomorrow. If you do it right though, you'll get a massive speed boost off the corner and can easily pass the leader. In turn 4, coming back to the white flag, Jeff Gordon was bump drafting Kyle Busch. Kyle got loose and began to wiggle back and forth. Jeff Gordon bumped into Kyle while he was wiggling, and Kyle nearly spun down the racetrack. Massive amount of sparks began exiting from underneath Kyle's car as he bottomed out on the apron and banking, and the entire field was soon covered in sparks. How did Kyle Busch save this? Honestly, most of it comes down to experience. At Daytona, it is not easy to save a car once it gets sideways on the apron and track median. So Kyle Busch was just able to use his experience of the race car and barely hang on to it. He did actually spin out in the wreck though, which is something that most people don't often notice. In the ordeal, Jeff Gordon and the number 51 of Kurt Busch began going up the racetrack. Eventually they ran out of room, and Gordon pushed Kurt into the one of Jamie McMurray, and Gordon and Kurt were both turned head-on into the outside retaining wall. The number 22 of Joey Logano had already committed to the outside lane and ran into the back of McMurray, while the 48 of Jimmy Johnson ran into the back of Kurt, and then was run into the back of by the number 9 of Marcos Ambrose. Marcos Ambrose was really the only one who was able to drive away from this incident with little or no damage, while Johnson was turned into the pileup. With Johnson driving into the pileup, Gordon was knocked over onto his driver's side and slid with his hood riding against the wall.
Whoa, Busch is around. Can he save it this time?
Oh, there you go.
He does. He saves it. But there's a
Jeff Gordon's upside down. Jeff Gordon's upside down.
And Kurt Busch's car is destroyed.
Oh my gosh.
Gordon slid from the exit of turn 4 with his hood pressed against the outside retaining wall. Jeff Gordon slid on his driver's side from the exit of turn 4 and slid all the way to where pit entrance begins. Coming off of turn 4, Kurt Busch is backward and still driving it. Kurt pushed Gordon off the wall and all the way to the apron line. Just before Gordon begins his small barrel roll sequence, he hits his passenger side wheel into the ground and his steering column goes haywire for a brief moment. Gordon then rolls onto his windshield, but because this isn't directly onto the roof where the center of mass is, he rolls off the windshield and does a small barrel roll. It also doesn't help since the windshield hood area is sloped rather than the roof having a general flat shape to it. Gordon rolled over 2 more times and came to rest upside down on the apron just off the entrance of pit road. Fuel is pouring out of Gordon's car and the fuel pump has either been unplugged from the input or completely destroyed and ripped out. When Gordon flipped over for the first time, the metal above the window net was glowing red hot from how long he slid on his roof. As the car was being towed away, we can see that the car and the chassis held up wonderfully and didn't show many signs of weakness. Yes, the roof was slightly pushed in and the rear clip body was shoved down, but the general frame and roll cage around the cockpit area and driver held up perfectly. Gordon walked away from the incident, and the crash prompted NASCAR to make no further changes to the car, as it held up exactly what it was meant for. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want me to do another racing flip from a different series, let me know in the comments below. I will mainly stick to the main divisions of NASCAR and will sometimes do one-offs from ARCA and the lower divisions. Other than that, thank you for watching.